What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Scoop, a proud Dallas Cowboys fan, a proud New York Mets fan. And every single day, I live and work deep behind enemy lines, right here in Philly sports country, the land of the Eagle fans, Phillies fans, and sports talk radio show takes that somehow get hotter every single day. And today, we got some conversations that are guaranteed to get people fired up. We're talking Eagles. We're talking Phillies. And unfortunately for me, we're talking Mets too. First, we'll discuss Geoff Mosher's latest comments on the Eagles and Jalen Carter contract negotiations. Should Eagle fans be wary, or is this just business as usual? Then, one Philadelphia sports radio host says if the Eagles have any doubts about Jalen Hurts, they should make a move for Brandon Sorsby. We'll discuss whether that's completely ridiculous or whether there's something to it. Then we'll switch over to baseball, because one MLB Network analyst says the Phillies aren't actually a dangerous team. And judging by how Philly fans have reacted, you'd think he insulted Rocky Balboa himself. And finally, as a Mets fan, we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation because the Phillies and Mets were both sitting at 9-19. One organization made changes, the other didn't. And now the Phillies are leading the wild card race while the Mets are sinking. We'll discuss whether the Mets missed an opportunity to save their season. Let's get into it. This is Behind Enemy Lines Sports Talk Show.
Check the weather and it's getting real. I'll be outside.
I believe the Eagles are hesitant to pay Jalen Carter.
I believe that just based on some conversations I've been having over the last week with people around the league, people who know the Eagles, people who talk to other personnel folks around the league. And, from what I understand, there is I would call it a trepidation, or a hesitation is the word you look for. But I don't want people to get to thinking like they don't want this guy or they don't value him. There's just a lot of factors involved that go. I know everybody says, well, they don't want him because of the baggage, the stuff at Georgia. No, there's also the injuries that he's dealt with. He only played 11 games last year. They're deep at his position. They have other guys on offense and defense, especially on defense, that they have to reward in the future. So I think I mentioned this with you guys last week. At some point in the next 12 months, they're going to have to make some unpopular decision, maybe even more than one, too, in order to pay guys who deserve to be paid. They're going to have to let some guys walk or trade guys for assets so they can help replenish. Could that one of those guys be Jalen Carter if things don't work out? It could be. I wouldn't handicap it here and say it's definite that we won't be back, though. I don't want people to think that.
The Jalen Carter contract negotiations. We talked about this multiple times on the sports talk show. And I'm here to say it right now. I don't think Jalen Carter will be an Eagle next year, because it's clear as day from the outside looking in, they don't want to pay the man. They're coming up with every excuse in the book, which to me is crazy, because if there's anybody on the Philadelphia Eagles roster that I want to make sure I'm locking down, it's the one person that y'all let walk away in A.J. Brown. And this is the second. You're starting off 0 for 1. You let Jalen Carter walk away, you're going 0 for 2. The crazy thing is, now I feel like Eagle fans or Philly fans in general are starting to realize what the whole world has been saying. How in the world is Howie Roseman making all these contracts work? How are they keeping all their good players and giving everybody the big money? Well, as you can see, those days are behind us. And somebody's going to have to get traded, cut, or let walk away in order for this team to still work money-wise. And they're saying that Jalen Carter might be the first in the domino effect, which is unfortunate for Philly fans. It's definitely fortunate for a Dallas Cowboy fan, because Jalen Carter is a scary individual. Jalen Carter can have an Aaron Donald type effect on a team's defense. And if the Eagles decide to let Jalen Carter be that first domino that falls when all these contracts are starting not to add up, so be it. I don't think that defense will be as good. You can say that you have other good pieces in his positional room. That's a lie. There's nobody on that defensive line, whether it's a tackle or in, as good as Jalen Carter. So I don't know. This is from the outside looking in, a Dallas Cowboy fan. Eagle fans, Cowboy fans, anybody, tell me what you think about the situation in the comments below. Do you think they should let Jalen Carter walk? Do you think he's worth $36 million? I think he's worth a lot of money. $36 million? I don't know. They are saying he's a top 3 defensive tackle in the league. If he's a top 3 defensive tackle in the league, you're darn skippy he's worth $36 million. If not, let him walk, see how your defense pans out. I just honestly, as a Cowboy fan, I'm too happy and too excited to see him walk away. So that should tell you a lot. That should tell you that you should keep him. Because when Dallas Cowboy fans get happy when the Eagle player gets traded or walks away, if they get excited, that means he was a good player.
Check the weather and it's getting real. I'll be outside.
Now, speaking of the Eagles' future, let's move from the guy they need to pay to the guy they're supposedly building everything around. At least that's what we've been told. Because every time Jalen Hurts comes up, it feels like Philly is split right down the middle. Some fans think he's untouchable. Others seem to think the Eagles are still evaluating him. And that's what brings us to our next topic. Ike from WIP recently said if the Eagles have any questions about Jalen Hurts, they should make a bid for Brandon Sorsby.
If you like the talent and you have questions, I don't know how it's going to be a lot harder to maneuver next year if you need a quarterback in the draft to move up to get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. Because now you need a trading partner.
Yeah.
You need somebody, and you're going to probably pay more to do it, to get up to get the guy. So, listen, I think Jalen's going to have a good enough year, and he's going to be here. I'm just saying from the Eagles standpoint, if they have questions and this opportunity is there, it would not surprise me if the Eagles were in.
Now, when I heard that, I had to stop and think, wait a second. Who the hell is Brandon Sorsby? And do people really believe the Eagles are still questioning Jalen Hurts? Let's talk about it. So like I said, I asked myself, who is Brandon Sorsby? So I had to look him up. I had to look the guy up. He's the quarterback that got in trouble after a legal battle over his sports betting history. This guy was a guy who can no longer play college football because he was betting. I mean, is he any good? So I started looking at his stats. He played 4 years of college football, technically 3. His first year, 2022, he played Indiana. He only played 1 game, 3 for 6, 8 yards, interception. Dang. His sophomore year, he played 10 games, started 7. His record was 1-6. He had over 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He then transferred. He transferred to Cincinnati, played and started in 12 games, had over 2,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Cincinnati went 5-7 that year. This past season, he played and started in 12 games again. He had 2,800 passing yards on the dot. He had 27 passing touchdowns, so only 5 interceptions. And the Cincinnati Bearcats went 7-5. So after that, he actually transferred to Texas Tech, and he was going to play this year. But after getting in trouble for gambling, they said, yo, you can't play college football anymore. So now he's just trying to get in the league. And Ike from WIP is saying the Eagles should. To be honest with you, I think if you get this kid or not, it's not going to make any difference in your quarterback room. Because if he was that good of a player, he would not have came back for a 5th season and tried to play at Texas Tech. If he was that good of a quarterback, he would have just came out this past season. So for you to try your hardest to get this quarterback, if you do decide to do that, you're just making yourself look even worse in the eyes of Jalen Hurts. Like, why are you keep disrespecting that man? He won you guys a Super Bowl. He's been named All-Pro, second in MVP, and you're telling me you're still evaluating this man and you should go after the quarterback who was caught gambling to try to solve your problem? That makes 0 sense. When it comes to this Jalen Carter situation, and now for some reason we're still talking about Jalen Hurts and he has a situation still because you still don't truly believe in him, I'm going to be honest. I think that little Philadelphia Eagles run is coming to an end. It's coming to an end. Let's think about this. You are about to lose your best defensive player. Yes, I know Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Make no mistake, Jalen Carter is your best defensive player. You're about to lose him, right? You lost, what, we're going to say, if he's not your best, he's 1B offensive player in A.J. Brown. Your 1A offensive player is Saquon Barkley, and we know how running backs age, right? Running backs don't last long. Saquon Barkley did his thing 2 years ago. This past season, I feel like, I don't know if it was the offensive coordinator's fault or is he's winding down a little bit. He didn't have a crazy year last year. So you have an aging running back, you lost your top wide receiver, and you don't trust your quarterback. I think this Eagles run of dominance is coming to an end. They had a good run, though. Went to multiple Super Bowls. They won a lot of football games, won 2 straight division titles, 2 or 3, I'm not sure. But I think that all this is coming down. Now you got these contracts that seem to be working or not really working. So you're going to have some money issues soon. So you're going to have to let people walk or trade people or cut people. The dynasty is coming to an end. But they had their run. And I'll be a lie if I were to tell you I wasn't happy. Because if the Eagles' dominance is coming to an end, it ain't going to be the Giants next. It ain't going to be the Commanders next. You already know who next.
Check the weather and it's getting real. I'll be outside.
All right, let's leave the football field and head over to Citizens Bank Park. Because if Eagle fans are passionate, Phillies fans might somehow be even crazier. And this next take has Phillies fans absolutely losing their minds. Because one national baseball analyst isn't buying the Phillies hype at all.
In comparison to the other top teams in Major League Baseball, do you still consider the Phillies a dangerous team in the majors?
Honestly, no, I don't. And in years past, I always said yes, but I just don't believe in the consistency anymore. I mean, I've been on with you guys, I've been on with some others, and I've always said that this lineup for the last 5 years gets hot and cold together. So you reference the beatdown of the Mets over the weekend. And yes, it was very much a two-fronted attack with Kyle and with Harper. But now you look and you see him get exposed by a guy like Foster Griffin last night, who's now beaten him twice this year. He beat him in his first start back in late March. So, again, we're going to talk trade deadline and all that kind of stuff, but this team has glaring holes. And I think that...
Is this Phillies team good? Of course they're good. They just beat my Mets 2-1. It felt like a sweep. The way they beat the brakes off us in game 2 and 3 of that series, it felt like a sweep. I mean, are the Mets a terrible team or are the Phillies a good team? I think it's a little bit of both. But we'll talk about the Mets a little later. I think this Phillies team is decent. They have a legit 1-2 punch in Wheeler and Sanchez. They got some good bats when they're clicking. Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber. When it comes down to it, they're in that B tier. Because that A tier, when it comes to the National League, you clearly have the Dodgers, you have the Braves, and you have the Brewers. I would not put the Phillies in that category with those 3 teams. But the Phillies are next. But do they have enough for a deep playoff run? I'm going to go ahead and say no. They will obviously make the playoffs. They might get out of that first round. Who knows? But a deep run, I don't think is in their deck of cards for this season. I just don't think so. Because outside those 2 starting pitchers, maybe Luzardo is a third good pitcher. But outside of that, I'm not scared. When it comes to bats, we all know the Phillies can hit every ball in the park or they can strike out every time. We all know that. Fortunate for them and unfortunate for my Mets, they was hitting everything this past weekend. But we know that it's in streaks. They're streaky hitters. And for a good baseball team to make a deep run into the World Series, you can't be a streaky hitter. You got to be on point all the time. You got to have a legit 3 to 4 starting pitchers, a good bullpen. And I don't think the Phillies have that. I don't even think they have that. Now, before Philly fans get too excited, let's talk about something that makes Mets fans miserable right now. Because these 2 teams actually started in the exact same place. Both were 9-19. Both looked broken. Both looked like they needed major changes. But then something happened. One team turned things around. The other team kept sinking. And as a Mets fan, this conversation hurts. Like I said, the Phillies were 9-19, and so were we. Today, the Phillies are leading the wild card race. The Mets are struggling to stay relevant. Some Mets fans believe the difference came down to leadership. They point to the Phillies making a manager change, and we should have been more aggressive in making that change as well. Were we too patient? Were we too stubborn? Did the Mets miss an opportunity to light a fire into this team? I think we did. When the Phillies fired their manager, every bad team was firing their manager. Boston Red Sox is another good example. I don't know what the Boston Red Sox record is. I think they're still pretty bad. If we would have fired our manager, it would probably give us a little spark. We could have at least be 500 right now. Or we could have been even worse than what we are today. You just never know. Me as a Mets fan, I wish we did fire somebody, make some changes, because right now it's just terrible baseball. I honestly think our season is over. After losing games 2 and 3 of that Philly series, I'm just like, this is a real bad baseball team. and it's not even worth watching anymore. So shout out to the Phillies for, pulling their trigger, getting that coach out of there, trying to get a fresh start before the season's over, before it's too late. And look at them now. Not saying that they're a World Series team, but they're definitely making the playoffs. Meanwhile, we didn't make any changes. We're still a below 500 team. We're making stupid mistakes, whether it's base running or fielding the ball or errors, or our pitching stinks. Our pitching is terrible. Terrible. So alongside firing our coach, we need to cut a couple pitchers because they're making too much money to be this bad at baseball. But that's just in my opinion. Comment below your thoughts. That's going to do it for today's episode of Behind Enemy Line Sports Talk Show. Today we talk Jalen Carter's contract situation, whether the Eagles should have any doubts about Jalen Hurts, whether the Phillies are truly contenders, and why the Mets and Phillies seasons have gone in completely different directions. Now is your turn. Eagle fans, the Eagles pay Jalen Carter right now. Phillies fans, are you actually a dangerous playoff team? Mets fans, did the organization wait too long to make a change? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm Scoop, a Cowboys fan and Mets fan living behind enemy lines in Philly sports country, and I'll catch you next episode.